project is that you have your terminal access, your AWS account, which you are going to be running our Ubuntu server on, and your GitHub repository to document your project configuration and the LEMP Stack configuration files. The LEMP Stack components. The LEMP Stack comprises of our Linux, which are going to be using Ubuntu 24.04, this stable lifetime edition. For the E, that stands for Nginx. This Nginx here, it is pronounced as Nginx. That's why we are using the E there. We have our MySQL database for relational database and the PHP fast package manager. The first step we are going to be looking at is to configure our Nginx, to do package updates and install Nginx. Then after that, we are going to be looking at the MySQL server configuration. In the MySQL server configuration, we are going to be configuring our MySQL server to install the MySQL server and do the configuration. Excuse me, can you still see my screen?
Oh,
Okay, yes, I'm showing again. Yeah, so we are going to be doing the MySQL server installation and to do secure installation to secure our MySQL server. And then after that, we are going to be installing PHP and the configuration of PHP and do our app deployment. In this way, for PHP, we are going to be doing this configuration to enable a new site and so let's do a quick comparison between like the last week LAMP stack implementation and this week LAMP stack implementation. For last week, we used the LAMP stack, which the web server we used Apache there. While for this one, this project, we are going to be using Nginx, which is lightweight. For the PHP processing, we used the Apache mode. While for this project, we are using the external processor. And these are the features like particular to our web servers. For Apache, it supports like vertical scaling, and for Nginx, we have horizontal and high concurrency. The package name for Apache is Apache 2, and for the package name for Nginx is Nginx, as you can see here. So for our deployment roadmap, we are going to connect to our AWS server that we're launching to install Nginx, MySQL, and Fast Package Manager, PHP Fast Package Manager. We're also going to set up our server blocks, so set up the root HTML and the PHP verification. So let's go into the live demo. Now I'm going to be launching a new instance, which will represent our server, then name it LEMP Stack instance. And we are using Ubuntu. It should be LEMP Stack. And we are using Ubuntu. The Ubuntu AMI, we are using version 24.04. For the instance type, we are using the smallest one, which is C3 micro under the AWS free tier. For key pair, we are creating a new key pair because we don't have any in the account. And after the creation of the key pair, you have to download like the private key. So I'll be using PEM format. And for the storage configuration, I will stick with this 8 gig. Well, for networking, we are going to allow SSH traffic from anywhere. Well, for this particular configuration, this allows everybody to like have access to um our SSH protocol. This is not ideal. It is like recommended to use like maybe your private IP or the VPN IP or maybe a bastion host. But for this particular project, we're going to be using this anyone. And we are going to go through the summary. We are launching one instance using Ubuntu 24.04 T3 micros instance type. Our security group, we have it configured, and the storage, we have 8 gig volume. And I'm going to launch the instance. So after launching the instance, I'll go to the EC2 dashboard, for instance, and copy the connection command. I'll click on connect. Then under the SSH client section over here, you have the EC2 instance connect, SSM session manager, and the SSH client. Then I'll be using first, let's go to our terminal. This is our terminal over here. And we have our key pair. This is our key pair. So I'm going to be changing the permission of the key pair that we're using. The current permission is this. The current permission of the key pair is read write owner, read write, read group, and the read others. I'm going to learn more about this if you don't have idea in the project documentation. So I'll copy the command to change the file mode. So you can check it now. We have read access to only the owner now. Then I will be connecting to this instance. So as I explained last week, this command comprises of one option and the instance that you're connecting to. This -i is the identity file, and we are going to be passing in our private key. Then the Ubuntu username, the Ubuntu default user for our instance, and this is the public DNS. You can also use the public IP address in place of this public DNS. So enter yes. Now we are connected to our instance. Let's move on to the next step. The first one is to update our package manager. I'll be copying this command. And then the command is working. Okay. Okay, I'll be typing running the command sudo apt update, and this will do a package manager update for us. So while waiting for the package manager to update, do we have any question or any clarification that you? Okay. Yes, so I'll be moving on to installing our Nginx, and the command is apt install Nginx. Then I'll enter yes. So we have our Nginx installed. I can check the Nginx status by running sudo systemctl status Nginx. As you can see, we have our Nginx server running. Then we can check our Nginx using the public IP address of the instance. So let's copy the public IP. These are public IP, and the public DNS that I used in connecting. Can also get it from here. So let me copy the public IP. And if you're on Windows or using Safari browser, Safari browser will default to like this HTTPS protocol. You have to like change it to HTTP. And also note that for this for the network configuration that I did not enable like HTTP connection to the instance. So if I try to connect now, it will just time out. As we can see, I'm not going to get anything there. So to correct this, I'm going to go to our security group under networking, then click on the security group ID. And I'm going to the routes table. This is referring us to the subnet. I mean, we are clicking on the security group. Yes, so the security group is under the networking security section. So under the inbound rules, we are going to edit the inbound rules to add another rule for HTTP connection, which is on port 80 and to everywhere. So let's try to connect again. Now we have our welcome to Nginx page. So before moving to the next section, do we have like any question? And also note if you if you don't have session access, maybe to your AWS console, or and you want to get your public IP address, like I told you last week, you can use this command to get your public IP address. Call command -s. So I'm unable to copy in this particular one.
So yeah, the copy have been deactivated from the website. So there's no more copy.
You can
Yes. However, if you are like
go and drag it.
yes, exactly, you can drag the command to
Yeah, that way. Try to split your screen and drag it to the terminal.
Yes, that's correct. Let me just drag it here. I'm just creating another tab for yeah, so we are not getting anything from here.
Sorry, excuse me, Gabriel. Please, I want to confirm if you can use Mac OS to do the same command. Will it still work? Or must you use Ubuntu?
We recommend like using Ubuntu because there are some commands on Linux that are not readily available on macOS. And
Okay.
using like your local server, you will have to like access on localhost instead of using you won't get a public IP like this if you are doing it locally. Okay, so no, just minimize this particular tab and bring up a notepad so that we can copy and so I have my new note here to copy commands. Yeah, so let's move on to the next section where we are going to be doing our MySQL installation. So let's install the MySQL server. So we are doing the MySQL server installation. And for this command, you have to pass in a token. I showed you in our last session. You have to pass in a token in order to successfully run this command. Okay, so let's do our MySQL installation. Sudo install MySQL. Then you're going to enter yes. And the next step is to connect to the server, change the root user password within this author user command. Like last week, you have to update your command. You have to update the command and the query author user, then the root at localhost identified by MySQL root user. MySQL native password by password 1. So let's run our command. Sudo MySQL. And I'm going to be running the command, the query to author our root user password. And exit. Then we are running the MySQL secure installation. And to require us entering the root user password. I'll copy and paste the password there. And just enter yes for, and the password, I'll just use medium. Change password for root, no, and anonymous user entry, yes. So we are all done for the secure installation on our MySQL server. Yes, so let's try to connect to our MySQL server again. So do MySQL. You have to connect using password. That's fine. Then I'm going to paste in my password. Now We're able to connect back after setting the password and doing the secure installation. And also run query. There's it. Yeah, so before moving on to the next session, do we have any question?
I want to know when to use Apache and when to use Nginx.
Yes, that's a good question, which is why I showed you like the differences in the slide. We have differences between like Apache and Nginx, which some of them are like listed here, like the PHP processing and the scaling profile. Like using Nginx, you can scale more faster and it is lightweight, as you can see over here. Nginx is lightweight than Apache. Like if you are running lightweight application, you can go with Nginx. And if you are running a process heavy application, that's where you look at Apache, and also the configuration and how you are familiar with the web server. That will also like determine the reason, like the tool that you're going to be selecting.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let's move on to the next session where we are going to be doing the PHP and PHP MySQL installation. So I'll copy this command. Should also like to clear this terminal. In case you don't know, I'm using Control L to clear the terminal, and you can also use the clear command to like do that. Like to clear. So I'll be running the command that I copied to do our PHP FPM and PHP MySQL installation. And with this dash Y option, I don't need to enter Y again after running the command. That's why I'm passing in the dash Y option. So we are going to be moving on to the next section. We are going to be doing our Nginx configuration. Firstly, we are going to create a new domain, like a new project, using this command mkdir var www project lemp. Then change the ownership of our new directory. So let's go through that together. And you can use tab to auto complete your command. Sudo mkdir make directory. I'm making this directory project. And we are changing the ownership of the of this particular directory. Before changing the ownership, let's check the current ownership. You can check that by listing the root directory, which is this www. And the current owner is root user. So we are changing the ownership using sudo chown command -r as in recursive to change everything that we have in this directory and all the files and directory path that we have there. Yes, Abraham, do you have any question? Hello? Okay, let me go ahead to the user column user and our directory path. So we can check again, and we should see. Okay, so this is in capital letter. So like it is case sensitive, the environment variable. Now we can check our directory permission again. As you can see, it has changed to Ubuntu. So moving on to the next one, we are going to be writing this file, and we are using Nano Text Editor. So I'll just copy the command and the contents of the file. This is the content of the file we are adding there. So in this server block, we have this listening argument, that is, it is going to listen on port 80. Then the server name is project LEMP, and this is the endpoint of our server name. And this is the root directory that is going to look for this particular server listening on port 80. And the order that we're using, we have index.html, index.html, and this index.php. We are going to change this later on to, we are going to change the order later on to make the index.php have more priority than the .html file. And the location files and other configuration that we have there is using PHP fastCGI, which is running on this which is in this part. So let me write out the file.
Hello, sir.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I have a question, and it's about the ownership we change. Does that mean we cannot do our project from the roots or for using the root owner?
Yes, we can do our project using the root owner. However, if you are like after using root owner and you try to access the PHP files in your directory, you'll be getting an a file for like you'll be getting 550 or so.
501.
Yes, exactly. You'll be getting 541 error
Okay,
because
sir.
because PHP won't be able to access like the directory that you have configured, as the directory ownership is in root.
Okay, sir. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, so we are going to write out the file now, and we can cast our file to ensure that everything that we pasted there is. So moving on to the next step, I'm going to be running this command to link our new configuration file with the site enabled to create a symbolic link there, soft link. Yes, Abraham, do you have any question?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's about this thing. I noticed when you want to enable the the new file for the project LEMP, you are trying to link it to the site enable. But in the Apache, we actually use um, A2 and site 2. So what's the difference, sir?
Yeah, so to incite the incite command is like doing the same thing as we are doing here, like to copy this particular file to the site enable directory. So if you have your configuration file in under the available directory, it doesn't mean that the site is enabled. So in order for you to enable it, instead of like running that enable command, you have to add your configuration file to the site enable directory. And for Apache, if you go through the configuration again and you run like the command and the site enabled command, you discover that it is like doing something similar to what we are doing here. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, so we are going to be creating this link. So before I create the link, I'll just list what you have in the site enabled directory. So we have only default file. Then I'll be running this command. So let's try to. So we have created a link between this particular file and this one that you are seeing here. Then we are going to run sudo nginx -t to test our configuration and ensure that everything is the test is successful and our syntax is okay. So we are going to unlink this default configuration. Let's do that next. I'll just copy the command. And let's list site unavailable. We have only the project LEMP site available. And do Nginx reload. So reload our configuration and so that it will pick up the new configurations. At the moment, you can still see this default site. So after doing the Nginx service reload, you won't be able to see the default site again to just route to the new one. And we are getting 403 forbidden error, which is because we don't have any contents in our new file, in our new directory. So let's write this index.html file to our site, to our project LEMP site. So I'll be copying the command. And to get your host name, this is the command that you're going to use, this particular one here. And like your public IP and the host name, you will see the command there. This. So let me run. Okay, so let me run this. And if we look at our file, I'll just cut the file. I want to set the content there. LLMP from host name and with public IP. So we are using this command to get the public IP address. We're using this command to get the public IP address. So let's try to access our site again. Now we are LLMP from host name with public IP. This is our host name and this is our public IP address. Okay. So before moving on to the next section, do we have any question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a very simple question. For example, we have websites that have about 4 pages, 4 pages, the welcome page and everything. So if we
Yeah.
are working on such websites, which probably will be working with different files and different directories, we have a major directory. For example, the project name is major directory. So the index.php would be like the welcome page, whereas the index.html should be like the welcome page. Index.php should be like page 2. Is that am I correct or I'm getting something wrong here?
No, like the order that we set there. Let's go back to our configuration. It should be over here. Yeah, so this order that we set here is that Nginx is going to look for this index.html file. In a case where we have index.html file and index.php file in the same directory, it is going to prioritize this particular one over the other one. Like that's the order that we're setting here. It is going to prioritize the one at the further left than the one at the right.
Okay, I get it, sir. I get you.
Okay, so moving on to the next one. So this will be an example that we're going to be seeing. We're going to have info.php file and yes, so let's add this file there. Nano then info.php. I'll just update this info.php. Mm. And we have our info.php PHP info page. So I'll just copy this. Um, Yeah, so we should be able to access our info.php page by modifying our, let me duplicate the tab and add info.php. So this is our PHP info page. It shows our PHP version and other configuration that we have set there. And this will confirm that PHP is working and Nginx is able to load PHP files. So we're moving on to the next step. Yeah, so you can decide to remove your info.php file or remove it, but it is like highly recommended to like remove this info.php file when you are in production server or if you have finished testing or looking at the PHP configuration that you want to check. So let us remove the file. And in the next one, we are going to be creating our database on MySQL to retrieve data from PHP to retrieve data from our MySQL database. So we will be creating an example database which is a database name, and also create a user, example user, and grant all privileges, all permission on this database to our example user, then exit. We're also going to be showing the databases, and after doing that, we are going to be creating our PHP application, PHP to-do list application. So let's start by connecting to our PHP root user. By connecting to our database, MySQL-p. So the password should be, let's get the password. Database password is password 1. Yes, so we are connected now. You can create database. Example database. And also close our bracket. And just use single quotes as we did in our
The create database should be in capital.
no, like in MySQL, the case doesn't matter. You can even use maybe create database, which is still like created. It's because I'm adding quotes there, and it is already a string. That's why we're getting this error. So after creating the database, we're also creating a user. We're in the last page. Then we are creating user, example user identified with MySQL native password. And so let's do that. Example user. Identified by MySQL, identified with MySQL native password. By password 1. So yes, we got it right, and I've created our user, and we are granting all privileges from this database to today's database to our user. That's all on this to our user, example user, and exit. So after exiting now, we are going to be connecting with our example user, and we have to like see this database that we just created. We have to see this user by connecting to our example user. So let's do that now. Now that to confirm that our example user has the right permission to the example database. Assure must be that will be password on, then show databases. So as you can see, we have our example database now. Next step now is to create a table in our database. So let's copy this. And we have to edit this prompt to remove the MySQL prompt that we have there. Let's see. Not really. So I'm removing it now. So we are creating the table in our example database. The table name is to-do list, and we have the item ID, the content, and the primary key. The primary key is our item ID. We are using this database. Show tables. So we have our to-do list there. You can select all to see the content of our to-do list. We don't have anything at the moment. Now we are going to insert into our new table using this query. So we insert into to-do list, and the value that we're inserting is my first important item. And just modify it in the next one. Maybe meet with the team and other stuff like that. Then you can select what we have from our list now. As you can see, we just entered this content. So we have 3 items in our table. So let us move on to the next one, which is to add our application, the to-do list application. And this is a very basic application. It's just going to connect to our database using the username and password. And you should note that, like in production or in live environment, you shouldn't be adding your credentials to the file like this. You can either way, like pass it in using environment variable or other secure methods. Yes, so let's copy the content out of our to-do list application. So this will be in to-do underscore list.php. And we should be able to access it using to-do list in the to-do list.php endpoint. So let me exit dash r nano. The file name is to-do list.php. So we have our username, the password, the database, and the table. So let's try to access our new application. I have to add this HTTP. So there we have it, our PHP to-do list application. Yeah, so do you have any question maybe before I move on to the next one? So that completes like the project LEMP application. So before this class, I prepared like a simple application, another application that we are going to be deploying to our site. So to do that, I'll be copying the content over now. Yes. Okay, so this is the application that I'm talking about. So let me add this. I'll just do a copy. Then, and instead of doing copy, we can just use secure copy command, which is SCP command. I'm going to like show you that now. So to copy the file contents that we have here, I'm going to do an ls. Then these are file contents. So we have a terminal. Okay. I'll be using this command. And copy the downloads part. I'm not sure. I'm going to like explain the commands that I'm going to be using here. Downloads LEMP. scp-i. So we are selecting our source and destination, scp-i, and to this file, the source will be from here, from this our current directory. Then we are going to copy it to var www then project then so as you can see from this command is like similar to the SSH command. We are passing in our identity file, then like using copy command, we are entering the source destination, like the source content that we are copying and the destination part. Destination is this project LEMP. So I'm copying everything that you have over in this current directory. And the Ubuntu user has and the host name. So we got no such file directory. Okay, hold on. This should be instead of just entering, we should specify our directory. Yes. So this will connect, then copy our application contents there. So instead of just having to type in the instead of having to yeah, so instead of having to type in the application content, maybe if we have about 20 files or maybe 50 files here, we don't have to type everything there. We can just use the secure copy command to copy our file content as like I did there into the server. So let us connect to our server again to see the files. ls-l. So these are the new contents that I just copied in. So this is the root part. If I do a refresh now, we can like tell me what you're going to see. Are we going to see like the current LLM from host name or the new application? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so I'm asking like if I do a refresh now, we are currently on the root part of this of our IP address. If I do a refresh now, what am I going to see? Am I going to see like this current file or the new application that I just copied in? And note, we have this we have the index.html and index.php file both in the same directory. Okay, I'll just go ahead and refresh. So we still have this our index dot we still have our index.html file. Like the question Abraham asked me. This is like the answer to it also. So in order to correct that, let me update the configuration file that we're using. Okay, so let's update the hierarchy. Then do a reload to our configuration. Before reloading, we have to like test the configuration. I've done the reload on it. And just to see. So if I do a refresh now, we should see the new application. It's just like a simple demo app where you pass in your username and preview your message, your username and message. And you just preview your message. Like that's what we have there. And we have the health endpoint to check the health of this particular application. So we've been able to complete our project LEMP and do the complete installation and configuration of the of our MySQL server. We did the installation and configuration of our Nginx app and PHP. Now we are in the question section. Yes, please go ahead if you have any question.
Thank you very much, sir. The last section that you just did right now,
Yeah.
please, sir, can you please repeat it back? The place that you start with the copy of code to the server xcp.i.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So let me go through it again. So this is
And
the command.
also, sorry. Okay, continue, sir.
Yeah. So this is the command that we used, and in order to like get like the full grasp of what we are doing here, you should like have a knowledge about the SSH command and the copy command. For example, in SSH command, you just do SSH-I, then from here, then to your username at hostname. So this is our SSH command. And to do a copy, maybe to copy from one directory to another, you can like do copy cp command, then the source and your destination.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Yeah, if I understand what you actually explained, because I also got everything wrong from this point. The secure copy protocol, I think and the location of where we have our identity file.
Yes.
Okay. Then we will now input the location of where we want to copy the file to. At the extreme end, the URL first, then the exact location, that is where it will copy it to slash project lemp.
Yes.
But there is something in between the SSH, the location of the identity file, and the location of where we want to copy our file. That
Okay. I
particular,
mean, this one.
yes,
So
sir.
this is going to, what this dot means is that this current directory / then all the contents that I have in my current directory. It's just like doing pwd. This dot will just copy everything that I have here. It's like having this part, but instead of having this part, I'll just do like dot, because I'm running it in this current directory and I have the files there. Do you get it now?
If the file is not in the current directory, we provide a path to the location of the file.
Yes, that's correct. You provide the part like I did now. Like this, the absolute part of this directory that I'm in.
Understood. And also, the final project that you loaded, this PHP, you did not have MySQL file for it.
Yes, it's not using MySQL file. So in your own project, you can maybe create another application using your MySQL database to get user input and output the content that you have there. This is just like a project that I created to encourage you to, like, after doing the project, not just to complete the project and just leave it like that. You should do something on it. Maybe create your own application and deploy it using what you have learned.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Gabriel, please, I have a question.
Yes, please go on.
My question is, when you started this course, you first launched EC2 instance. So what is the connection of that EC2 with all this terminal that you ran, with all these codes that you ran in your terminal? What's the connection? Without launching it, you can still do all the codes. You can still run your codes in your terminal, right?
Yes, it depends on like the session that you are using. Maybe if you are on Windows, if you are using Windows computer, then you can't run some commands that I am running, but you can still do like everything that I did there. And the main reason
Without
why
launching it.
yes, correct. And the main reason why we are using an EC2 instance is to make you more familiarized with like the networking aspect and like what you are going to face in the future when launching an application. Okay, because if you're having an application, you can't just have it on your local system. You have to host it on maybe a server somewhere, or if you have your own server, then you are going to do the network configuration and get the public IP. And note, if you do this particular installation on your system, you can't access it from somewhere else, maybe from your phone, or to send it to your friends for them to take a look at it and see what you've done.
Okay. So that means I want to understand, must we do the launching first before we start all this, or can we just do the whole coding on our terminal without launching the EC2?
That's a good one. You can, like, if you are coding your application, you can code what you want to deploy first, then launch your application. Then launch your instance.
Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. So what you have done now, you just need to maybe create a domain name, then point this IP there. Then you have your application ready. Okay. Yeah, so do you have any other question?
Sorry, another question I have is, these things is I'm still trying to get myself in all these things because I'm still new in it. So, when I was trying to do the first project, I noticed that I was using Mac OS because I noticed that Mac OS has some of all this that you can still run with without using the Ubuntu. So I did not install the Ubuntu. I was using it, but I encountered some problems when I was doing it. So,
Yeah.
for example, when I wanted to install PHP, it's installed, but when I wanted to view it on the server, on the local server, on the local host on my browser, I couldn't see anything. So, and some other small problems that I was just encountering and all that. So I wanted to know, maybe is it because that I was using the Mac OS, I did not use the Ubuntu. That was why I asked you that question at the initial time. If using that Mac OS is also good, or we should just use the Ubuntu. Because if it is, that means I will have to redo my project. I'll just have to install the Ubuntu again, since it's not in my system.
Yeah, so for this particular project, like we recommend creating an EC2 instance. And so to also like test Linux commands, you have to like create your instance on AWS. And also note that I'm also using macOS, and for what we have done, maybe to like run the application and other stuff like that, I can also do it locally, and you can view your application on localhost. You just have to check the configuration on your system and to ensure that you have your networking configuration well set.
Okay.
And the port that you are using, you should also check the port. Maybe if you are exposing to port 3000, you should add that there. Maybe something like localhost, then to the port that you are using.
Okay, like put the number that's the port that I'm using, the number port.
Yeah,
Okay.
that should. Okay.
Okay.
I don't have any
I'll
other
try.
question. Just drop it on the channel and
Okay. Thank you.
yes.
Gabriel, a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he's having issues using Ubuntu commands on her computer, you can use Git Bash or WSL. It's an application like a terminal, which looks like Ubuntu, and it can take commands from Ubuntu and everything. It looks like an Ubuntu terminal, and it works on, I think, Mac and Windows too. So there's no need to change your whole OS for the project. You can just use WSL or Git Bash.
Yes, that's correct. And I think what she's referring to is like not creating an instance on AWS and just using a Mac OS system, or not creating a server and just using our own computer. That's what she's like talking about. Because if you want to run Linux command or test command, there are other options like this Git Bash and the WSL on your Mac OS. You can also use Ubuntu container and other stuff. Maybe virtualization using but VirtualBox also. Yes, so it is like you have to ensure that you have your AWS instance for this project, not just for just so you know like your way around AWS and also navigate and to know what resources you need for your particular project or what you need to do. Yeah, so in case of no other question, I'm going to like terminate this instance, and you have to like do the same from your end. If you are not using the instance again, when you are done with the project, you should terminate the instance at the end of your project.
So,
Yes.
sorry, I just want to ask something based on this said AWS. I registered for the free tier and they gave me $100 credit. So I don't know how they used to, the tariff for it for each of the instances that you are going to open. So I don't know if I open for one, if it's going to take everything. And I'm happy that you just showed us how to terminate it because I have not really launched any. I wanted to launch it yesterday, but I was scared to launch and everything would disappear. So I tried to work on my terminal without launching the EC2
Okay.
instance. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to like manage what you're doing, and if you're not using the instance, you should also stop it. So the volume will be like they'll charge you for the volume, but for the instance that you are using, if you stop the instance, it's not going to charge. And like the uptime of what you are doing, once you are done with your project, you should terminate it like I did now.
Okay. So there is nothing that you have done in your terminal that you can still view on this AWS dashboard.
No, like you can't view them again because I've terminated the instance. Unless you go to the history, like I have now. Yes, sir. Yes,
Hello,
David.
I wanted to ask, are the projects like weekly based? So is this project for this week or is it for the week we're about to enter?
Yes, this for this week. For next week, we are going to be looking at the other projects now that we have LEMP Stack. Stack.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because I submitted the text online, but I haven't gotten any reviews yet. So I wanted to ask.
Yes, you're going to get a review on that too.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. So in case if we don't have any question again, I'll be session for now.
Hello, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for today's class. Thank you so much.
Hello, Mr. Gabriel.
Yes, hello, Abraham.
Okay, I said I have a personal question. I've started working on the project, the third project, the main stack. So I think I experienced some blocker in that. I think the step where I have to test my packaging software using the post API.
So your voice is breaking.
I said I have a blocker where I have test my back end software using the post API. So that's actually been displaying error.
Okay. Yeah, so if you like follow the steps in the documentation, and you should take note of what you are getting on your terminal after starting the application. You have to ensure that your server, your application is running, your new application is running before you like check on Postman. And then to also take note of like messages that you're getting. Don't just ignore anything there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you're welcome. And for okay. Yeah, so Kelvin, did you have any question?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So, we created an instance for last week's project. So for this particular week, do we have to create another instance or still use the previous instance?
You can use a new instance, and I believe for the last week's one, you should have deleted it, like to terminate the instance.
Okay, I just stopped it. I didn't maybe delete or something.
Yes, you have to like terminate it. Though you can still use the same instance, but you will like encounter some error, maybe running Apache and Nginx. You have to stop one of them in order to use the other one. But to avoid all that, you can just terminate and have a fresh instance that you can work with.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I'll be ending the session from today and see you next week.
Recording